was a target for like discrimination while I was pregnant. Felt like if this is happening to me, what's happening to the others as well?
Hello, lovely. Thank you so much for your time today. Tell everybody who you are. Like, who are you, and what was your life like before children?
Okay, so I'm Emma Fowler. I am a colour expert and educator.
Mhm,
I have had my own business for 9 years
mhm,
following the birth of my eldest child.
mhm,
So I'd say my business is more now predominantly education, but I still do clients as well. I teach hairdressers via like memberships, online courses, and basically, I suppose hairdressers like me, like mums, self-employed mums who maybe worked on their own for too long or get stuck in a rut a little bit and want
yeah.
to like tackle modern colouring because colouring's evolved so much.
Yeah.
So I want to help those people to kind of like just feel confident in their job role.
Mhm,
Um, so before I had children, I was employed. So I was employed right up until the point that I started my business and had maternity leave. So 14 years in employment. I started in London because I
mhm,
grew up in London. So I feel like that's like a really good starting point as well. Like it's just like I don't think I appreciated it at the time, but now looking back, I can see that I was obviously in a really fortunate situation and got to do like shows and like had loads of experiences quite early on in my career.
mhm,
Um, I went into teaching really young. I
mhm,
started working for Goldwell when I think I was 22.
mhm,
I was a field educator, so I've actually spent more time educating than I have behind the chair.
mhm.
And then I wanted a new challenge, so I went back into the salon before I was pregnant, and that I would say always had quite positive experiences, but that probably wasn't the best move that I've made in my career.
Okay.
I was promised a lot to make this move from education in back into the salon. Nothing transpired, and then unfortunately, like basically, was a target for like discrimination while I was pregnant. So
Yeah.
it kind of, I felt like it kind of like had like a really good run, and then yeah, basically didn't end well at that point.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I know it's
I
something
wish
really
I'd not
hard.
heard that before.
Yeah, it's something really hard because I don't talk about it a lot online. I do mention it, but it is something really hard because I feel like I feel like when you do speak up about things like this, people do sort of eye roll quite a lot. Like you talk about experiences that you've had or whatever, and people are like, oh yeah, poor hairdressers or whatever. But I was offered less money to return to the same job role.
Yeah.
I was demoted 4 levels. That was my option. I was working at top level in the salon, and then my option was to be demoted 4 levels because I'd had a child, and because I'd been on maternity leave and my skills had dropped, and I was told that. The
Yes.
option was to return as a junior at that level,
And
and
you're talking like you were consultant level.
yeah, so I was
Okay.
artistic director, manager, and I was told that I could return to the bottom level while also undertaking unpaid training. So that was the deal. Or I return for less money to my previous management role.
Assuming with your clientele that obviously there's a little bit of nooks after maternity leave, but you're going to maintain your clientele. So you're going to take less money for a similar clientele.
Yeah. Well, it was actually to move salons within the same group, but to be
Classic.
demoted. Yeah. Or
Yes.
go back to my salon management, but take less money.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, so I was like, what do you do? But also I felt sad because I was one of 9 women that were pregnant at the same time, and I was also one of the eldest, and the most experienced, and I just felt like, if this is happening to me, what's happening to the others as well?
Absolutely.
I was like, okay, well, if you put that in writing, I'll consider it. Obviously, it never got in writing. And then it got to the end of my maternity leave, and I just said, oh, my childcare situation's changed, and I won't be returning. And was like, right, I'm going to go and work at Tesco now.
We've all done the Tesco's chat.
Yeah. I was like, actually, I quite like the thought of going and doing like the home shopping. I was like, that's really cool. I was like, I'm going to go and like pick people's shopping because that sounds really fun. And then I went through this phase of wanting to go and work in salons but not doing hair. But every time I approached anybody that was like, can I do reception work? Can I do something else? They were like, no, you're too experienced for like that. We would want you on the shop floor. So I kind of like hit a brick wall at that point. So yeah, that kind of like, that's brought me up to like then where I started my own business.
Okay. So is your eldest, you've got one of each, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got a 10-year-old boy.
Right.
And so I had 14 months maternity leave pretty much by the time that played out. And then I've got a 4-year-old girl. Yeah.
Okie dokie. So this is the point that you thought, I can't do this, I'm gonna go out on my own, right?
Yeah, so I went and did I started working for Weller freelance.
Okay.
And that was really nice. And then that sort of edged me back into the industry a bit more. And I was in a team of people that were also doing hair. And I was like, I feel like I would quite like to do that. They were all having clientels while also doing this education on the side. And I was like, oh, this seems actually quite nice. So I tried going back into the salon for a couple of days. That didn't work out. And my mum is like the only self-employed person that I know. She does counselling, she doesn't do hair. And she said to me, I just think you need to start your own business. And I was like, no, I had no clients. I didn't live in an area where I'd worked.
Yeah.
And like I was like nearly an hour away from my workplace, my previous workplace. So my mum was like, I just think that you need to go out and
bite the bullet,
start a business. And I was like, okay.
I think this is a really important thing to kind of hone in on, because I've undergone some really bad trolling, like we kind of touched on earlier. You get the whole, oh, you're just a hairdresser victim, why don't you just open your own salon, and you're like, it's not that easy. There's so many different layers to that, as you've just kind of touched on. So would you mind kind of saying, like, what were you feeling, what were you worried about when you were told just to do this? It's different coming from your mum than a middle-aged white man on the internet.
Yeah, so I think this is why I'm so passionate about, like, obviously, fast forward 10 years and I'm a big advocate for self-employed women. I have big self-employed communities online. This is like the thing. So I feel like, and this is why I suppose I get really bothered by stuff like, one, I felt like I was forced into self-employment because it wasn't anything that I'd experienced before. I didn't particularly want to do it. I felt like it was like thrown upon me. And I went mobile because that's the only way that I could see that I could do childcare in the situation that I had. So my husband actually had a business at the same time and he worked weekends. So going back into the salon, that was the other thing, that what was presented to me, aside from the money, was every weekend, one evening, and I was actually told that I wouldn't be able to leave early. So I would be working till 9 o'clock in the salon, and like no nursery is open till 9 o'clock.
Or a Saturday.
You don't have support. I was like, well, my husband works Saturdays and we have very limited help. And so we rely on paid childcare. And I just think like there's so many people like me where in that situation where the paid childcare doesn't fit what's being asked of us.
The expectations, absolutely.
Yeah, like I saw somebody the other day saying that they had a member of staff that wanted to come back and couldn't work Saturdays or wanted to work every other Saturday. And I was like, but if you haven't got childcare, Like if you've got a partner that works, or you haven't got a partner and you haven't got grandparents that are readily available, there is no paid childcare on a Saturday. So, that's why I'm so passionate about this, because people open up home salons so that they can have their kids in the house while they work.
Yeah.
Lots of people work with their baby with them. I have never done that, but like
I would really struggle with that. If you can do it, I fucking applaud you. But
people, pop a baby in a sling and crack on with it.
Right? I don't know.
But that's like their option. And people say to me, "Oh, have a laugh. Like, people aren't forced to go self-employed." And I'm like, they are forced to go self-employed because
there is nothing else.
They have very limited options.
Yep.
And then again, like fast forwarding a bit, my eldest has Sen, which obviously I didn't know at the time. And now I have to juggle hospital appointments, like meetings. And I genuinely don't know how I would do that with
I'm a Sen mum too.
Yeah, I don't know how. I just couldn't do it. Like,
you couldn't. Yeah,
I'm having to work around like total flexibility. And then in the holidays I work when I have like holiday clubs, which my clients are fine with. They're like, so I usually work a Thursday doing clients, but in February half term I'm going to work a Tuesday because that's the day the holiday club is on. And so my clients are totally fine with that. I just it's unheard of that is ever offered to people.
I also think, sorry.
Oh no, go on.
Once you get to a point where you've got a solid clientele that are there for you and you're kind of in that routine of self-employment, they are happy to be flexible. But that doesn't just happen, does it? It is a process to get there. Yeah. Another reason why it's quite scary to become self-employed, right? You're not just going to walk into this, glorified image that's painted for you.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I just feel like I do feel like it's the flexibility. There's 13 weeks school holidays. Both of mine are at school now. I have to navigate those 13 weeks. So, and I am very pro salon. I am very pro employment in the industry because it's right for a lot of people, and it needs to be there. And I would never be like this and this about salons, except for my own experience. Like I don't just because it's happened to me doesn't mean that all salon owners out there are doing these things. Some are, some aren't, and some are fantastic.
Absolutely.
I think we have to be realistic that that self-employment offers something that employment actually can't.
Yes.
And as 80, the old 87% female industry, a lot of us will be like, we're having children, like it's just what works. And that's why we've seen this boom, because people realise that they can have a career and have children.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you opened your space with your children, and how has that experience been for you?
So I went mobile first.
Okay.
Because I was like totally new to self-employment. So I didn't have a clientele. I didn't know how I would rent a chair. I didn't know anything about that. So it seemed the easiest way was to go off mobile. So I did. I set up a Facebook page, and we actually had just moved to a new build development. And this was the other thing I'd been watching for a little while people were like, can anyone recommend a hairdresser? And I was a bit like, I'm on maternity leave, and and I'd sort of say, well, yeah, like maybe I could do that, but like I haven't sort of started up yet. So we had a Facebook page. So when I was ready, I was like, hey, like I'm an experienced hairdresser. And I remember someone saying to me, have you got any pictures? And I was like, no, I haven't got any pictures, but I have done all of this stuff. So, I'd done 2 colour degrees. I was working for Weller at the time. I was like, kind of like trying to sell myself without any of that stuff. And actually that person who asked me that, I did her hair on Monday, like 9 years later. Like, so people had it, I feel very thankful for people who took that jump.
Absolutely.
So I just so I set up a Facebook page. I also had always been a colour technician. So me and my mum had this discussion about if I was going to go off on my own self-employed, I really needed to cut hair.
Mhm.
So because I worked for Weller, you get a discount, or if you have a Weller account, you get a discount on Sassoon courses.
Perfect.
So that first week in January, I went off to London and did ABC cutting, put it on my credit card, because I was like, this is obviously going to be like an essential part of what I do. And then while I was there, I was like posting on my Facebook page that I was like going to be starting clients the week after. And I did. I just started clients. Like I begged, borrowed, and stole childcare from whoever. I'd literally used to say to people, when do you want an appointment? And then I'd go and find childcare from somebody, like one of my family members or whatever. And then I'd go back to the client and be like, okay, well, I can do Thursday morning. So that's how I started up. By the April, I was fully booked. So I was like, really, I need to look at like using nursery and whatever, because like I'd exhausted all options. So I started with, I managed to get my son into 1 day a week at nursery, then 2, then 3. So that was like, I suppose I was really lucky because I could kind of edge myself into that, and also really lucky that it worked, and that I ended up really busy. So it just kind of, by the April, I was kind of finding my feet a bit more with like regular hours and stuff. And then it's a bit of a random thing, but long story short, I started education at the end of that year, and I was hiring out salons, and then that led me to getting my own space. It's a bit of a random situation, but I started doing, when I started my clientele, I started getting hairdressers saying, can you teach balayage? Because that's kind of what I was doing. At the time, no one was doing that sort of stuff. And I was like, yeah, sure. I got hired by somebody else to do a class. And then on that class, a salon owner approached me and said, you can use my salon to teach your own classes. So that's what I did. And where I was selling out classes every Monday, and I started to like pay other salons. Basically, it ended up cheaper just to get my own space.
Okay.
So I took that leap to take on like my first small studio. Weirdly enough, I stayed mobile because I liked it. So I taught from a studio, stayed mobile, and then we went into lockdown.
Brilliant.
So, I feel like loads of stuff has gone on that sort of like led me to certain things.
Sure.
But like we've relocated, I've had another, like there's loads of stuff, but that ultimately like led me up to getting my first space and moving away from being mobile.
Okay, and how did you find that transfer from mobile to being in your own studio?
Oh, again, it was a bit weird because there was no plan to do it. Like, so we relocated to the other side of Essex 12 days before lockdown. I was so lucky with my mobile clientele. They were all in the same area. I literally would go and do a full head of highlights, drive 5 minutes, do a full head of highlights, drive 5 minutes, do another full head of highlights. I was like, this is just, I've got the perfect setup. Like, there was no plan to stop that. And obviously then, we went into lockdown, and I didn't know what would happen. There was all this talk about, would we be allowed in people's houses? Would mobile hairdressers be allowed to work? So I took the opportunity at that point to say to my landlord, look, I've got this clientele, really established clientele, and I've closed my books. Can I move that clientele into the studio? And I had one person who said that they were not going to follow me, and that was that.
Lovely.
So, yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah, but I mean, we came out of lockdown and I was fully booked for 4 months, like until we went into another lockdown.
I don't think we've ever got over that.
I know. I feel like I was just that typical booked, busy, burnt out, still doing colour till midnight.
Same.
Like hustling, working, like trying to maximise the most of paying for childcare. My husband would pick up at 4 or 5. I'd be still putting on highlights at 9 o'clock at night, and like that's what
I do feel there's also like before COVID and after COVID, and how that just changed the way so many of us work. It sounds like that was the same for you too.
Yeah.
So I guess the going into the studio gave you the flexibility, you're doing your courses, and did that mean that were you able to be like picking up the kids, or was that still something that...
So I only had one child then.
Right.
I only had one child at that time. And this is the other thing. Nursery obviously offers very different hours to school. And I always knew kind of my time would be up at some point.
Yeah.
So he was in nursery 52 weeks of the year. And nursery is pretty stable and offers longer hours. So I was dropping off at 8:30 in the morning. He could be there till 6, but my husband finishes a bit earlier, so he could pick up. So we kind of like had this very like almost like shift pattern kind of type of setup. But I knew that when he'd go to school, I wouldn't have that. Like, no. I would have to contend with the holidays. Obviously, school is only 9 till 3. So no, I didn't. Even when he started school, he was in breakfast club and after school club, because when he started school off the back of lockdown, that was still my working setup. And then I found out I was pregnant on the first day of the second lockdown, which was the November. And that's really where everything changed at that point.
So do you want to tell me about those changes from that point? So
I found out I was pregnant on the first day of that lockdown. And then we were in that month of November. And by that point, also, my online education had started to grow considerably. I was doing a lot of like Zoom classes, self-employed, colour. I already had a membership pre-lockdown, but when lockdown came, I opened it up, invited everybody in for a discounted rate. So I was starting to like build on that as well. So yeah, my business definitely started to shift. So we went back in the December, and I remember being just really resentful of the whole situation. I was very early on in my pregnancy. I felt like I had very difficult clients to deal with over mask, no mask, if they were ill, if they weren't ill. I was in that weird situation of where I wasn't 12 weeks yet, and I really begrudged telling people. Like, they were like, do I have to wear a mask? Well, yeah, because, you know, I'm pregnant and that's what I'm doing. And I remember when we went into tier 4, that lockdown, I was actually really thankful. I was like, this is exhausting. So I kind of had a very weird pregnancy because I only worked those 12 days. I didn't go back.
That is weird. Yeah.
It is weird because then we had that January lockdown.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell anybody I was pregnant. I was planned to tell my clients face to face that I was pregnant, but I didn't see them. I'm waiting for Boris to come up with what the next stage is. I found myself in this weird situation of helping self-employed hairdressers with grants. So I now had another Facebook group where I was helping people access grants where they didn't know, while also arguing about self-employment online consistently while being pregnant. So yeah, like
busy. And it was busy.
Yeah, I was busy.
I didn't need to be in the salon. I had 7 jobs.
Laying on the sofa with morning sickness,
I was pregnant as well. When was your littlest born?
June 2021.
Oh, I've got a November.
Yeah.
Yeah, wild.
So and then Boris was like, you can go back to work, but I was high. So one, I was high risk, and 2, because I was so busy before, I think I was about 27 weeks pregnant when Boris opened the world back up again. And I was like, it took me 4 months to catch up. I was like, I don't have 4 months because I'm not going to be able to fit everybody in. I wasn't very well. I had to commute to the studio 40 minutes, and I was like, it's pretty dangerous to be on my own, working till late at night. And also, how do you fit in like over 100 clients into that time frame while you physically can't do it? So I told my clients I wasn't coming back. I said, obviously I told them I was pregnant. I said, I just can't go back. Like, I can't. There was no way for me to be able to do that work. So I was like, I'll see you when I see you, because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how this year is going to pan out. I ended up going back at the tail end of that year in time for Christmas. But I was like, here's your formulas. here is anything that you want from me. I'll send you tubes of root tint if that's what you want. But at this point, like, we're going to part ways for a little while. Like that.
How did they take that? Did they take that well?
Yeah, they did take it well. And I think it was better all round, because I was really panicking about how do you make the decision. Could I have done first come, first served, like on people? No, like I just don't know how I would have navigated not being able to fit anyone in. And as it goes, Matilda was premature. She was born at 35 weeks. Okay. My health had rapidly declined anyway, just, you know, and obviously I was still doing education at that point. So yeah, I mean, on the whole, they took it really well. I did have one client who was like, I just don't understand, like, you're only 28 weeks. And I was like, you know, I've got a 5-year-old at home, and it's dangerous for me to be out because I'm high risk. I can't catch COVID because I'm pregnant. This is going rapidly downhill. Unfortunately, I can't do your hair.
You know, and then do you have that moment of, why am I justifying this? But you do, but it's just like, you're being really unreasonable.
Yeah. And it was hard because all hairdressers were busy at that time, and I think people found it really hard to find another hairdresser. And
that's a fair
some
point.
People waited for me, like they did, like people did wait, and some people did a bit of DIY at home and things like that. But you know, I just think it was better to like make that decision and sort of put that boundary in, because there just wasn't any way that I could have come back to work at that point. No. So yeah, I kind of cracked on with still doing education from, you know, in my membership there's loads of recordings of me sitting right here doing blockheads, doing coaching online. And so I was still working right up to the point they took me down to theatre.
Yes.
Like, I was like, pretty much, like, my friend just said that you know, I was still voice noting her, like being wheeled down to the theatre, like, about work. So I did, like, I worked right up until the end in terms of doing the education, being online, content creation, helping people with the grants, but I just didn't work behind the chair.
Okay. So I guess the online stuff was a way of honouring everything in your life, right? And that gave you a lifestyle that you really wanted.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it massively shot up at that point, and I guess really changed my business. So then again, like, I feel like we were making decisions. Like, it also meant that when Matilda came along, my husband could take a step back from work. He sold his business quite early on, like when I started my business. He was working for somebody else, and it meant that he could take a step back. So he actually took maternity leave. I went back to the business because I had to when she was 5 months old, and he took that role. So I kind of also feel like when I talk about things online, I have seen both sides of stuff as well, because we've experienced that role reversal in our house. So I've experienced, like, being a default parent, I've experienced maternity leave, but we've also experienced having a stay-at-home dad in the house. So I do feel like we have seen...
You've got a good view of it.
Really interesting,
balance.
Because, like, my husband will almost get, like, at some points gets a bit laughed at, you know, like, where people say, what do you do? And he's like, oh, my wife's a hairdresser. And they're just like, their faces are like, what? So, and like, even going into a restaurant, if I ask for the bill, he gets given a card. He gets given the card machine. I've had experiences like, I took my car in for a service in my name, and they asked me if I needed to ask my husband's permission to have work done on the car. So like, we've experienced that as well, as a family. Like, we laugh about it because my husband loves to be like, he's back at work now, but he loved to be like, I'm a kept man. I don't know why you made this assumption of like our setup. So yeah, we've we've experienced that as well, which is interesting. I think it adds another layer to
it does.
how I can talk about things.
Yeah, I think it definitely works both ways. You know, I know I bang on about the patriarchy, but I'll also say it doesn't work for either party, really. You know, your husband's getting laughed at for taking time off. That is a result of a patriarchal society. He's being a dad, and that's fucking wonderful. Why, I love that for you.
And he also, he also asked to go part-time. So that was where it started, really, was that Matilda was born on top of the summer. I'd had a C-section. She was premature. Obviously, summer holidays are coming up. She was actually due start of the summer holidays, but she came in June. So he was going to have the summer holidays off, or part of it off, to help me. But he had his time off, and then the summer holidays came, so it didn't go to plan. And I said to him, really, you know, you could go part-time. That was where we started talking about it. But his boss was like, it's just unheard of. And this is the other thing, like, I suppose, like, in male-led industries, it's just unheard of. The men take care of their children. And he was saying, but I could go part-time. Like, nobody works part-time. He's in construction, so it's, you know, it's like us. It's a very male-heavy industry, and it was almost like, no, like, you can't work part-time to raise your children. Like, that's not what the offer is. And I was like, I can't get my head around this, because surely they want somebody 3 days a week rather than, like, not at all.
No days a week.
I don't like, clearly not. And he was kind of pushed out a little bit, to the point where then he had to give up work because he couldn't find part-time work. So we were like, okay, it came sooner than what we thought. But the idea is that he would have 2 days off. I would work 2 days. He'd work 3 days. But he ended up just stopping work for 3 years. He stopped work. So yeah, and I remember when he started working last year. We go on holiday a lot because we can.
I know. I want to ask you about this.
Yeah, and like, that's the lifestyle that we have now. And they looked at him like he had 3 heads, and he doesn't know. He doesn't know what a normal amount of holiday is. He just knows that there's, you know, school holidays, and we go away quite a lot. And he said, well, we go away in the summer holidays for about 2 weeks, and then we've done this. And then my wife's really into extreme day trips, so we did that. Well, not last year, the year before. We went away 11 times. And he's getting looked at like, you know, but they're like, what, you want time off? He's self-employed as well. So he's self-employed, and they're almost like, what, you want to have time off? He certainly doesn't have the flexibility that I have. And I do find that a bit frustrating when you're in those job roles, like, where, you know, I'm like, you surely can have as much time off as you want, but he can't. So, you know, it's challenging on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so is there anything that I haven't asked you that you want to tell me and anyone watching?
I suppose, so I predominantly do education now. I work, I try and work 1 day a week behind the chair, but it's actually sometimes 2 or 3. So, because I just love working, and I guess it's the same for most self-employed people, is that your job role evolves. So as Matilda went to school, I suddenly had more time, so I've picked up more work. I'm very lucky to be busy in that way. So yeah, education wise, I just always have lots going on. So I do, like, if people want to do in-person stuff, I do like networking for hairdressers, in terms of, we do coffee mornings, which is like a really nice, like, bit of a passion project of mine, where we have hairdressers that come along and learn something. And the idea of that is that it fits into the school run as well, rather than doing like a whole day of education. It's just 10 till 1. So I did that with mums in mind. I also offer small in-person workshops to get like hands-on education, particularly for people who lack confidence, because a lot of education now is big rooms, like big rooms of people. So,
overwhelming.
Yeah, so we do, like, I do small intentional hands-on education, and then I have so much online. I've always got a free masterclass, which
I've sat most of your masterclasses, I think.
So I've got a free toning masterclass. I've just done like an affordable £27 mini masterclass, and then I have like bigger courses, like it just goes sort of up and up, and then I have like people who are with me doing long-term coaching. I've got someone who's been with me 4 years. So I have a membership where you can just access loads of education. I do refresher training. It's basically all for people who just want to, they feel like lived in colour and balayage has been thrown upon them.
That's when I came off maternity leave with my first. I remember people kept asking for balayage. My first one was like, yeah, I can do that. No, Kat, you can't. So I remember that very, very well.
Yeah, and I like to give hairdressers like a strategy from like A to B. So, you can create this work, but you just need a strategy of how to get there, because I've been there, because I started my business again like on the top of the balayage era, and it's definitely evolved over the years, and I'm certainly not teaching what I was doing 10 years ago, so in terms of like winging it a little bit. So yeah, it's evolved. So I suppose that's really like the ethos of my education.
I'll tag you in the show notes and everything, but what's your Instagram in case anyone doesn't follow you, which I'm sure they bloody will.
So it's at Emma Fowler Hair across all socials. TikTok is, and they're quite different. TikTok, I just basically like to talk crap about the industry.
I need to follow you. I'm having a great time talking about the crap in the industry.
I'm like, I should be talking about colour, which is what I do on Instagram and I do on my Facebook. And then for some reason, TikTok, I'm like, right, I'm going to sit in the car and talk about like why is there lack of female representation at awards shows, like
I've just gone viral on Instagram talking about like that kind of thing, and the trolling is unreal.
People are like, because women are not talented enough
to you're a victim
at the top, and I'm like, no, it's because I'm at home looking after my children.
You assumed that I would look after your kids so that you could crack on, so
that the men have free reign on things that are not possible to me, So, let's talk about that. But, and also, I haven't got the money to invest in a photo shoot because I'm paying for childcare and paying for other things, and people just in a different situation. And I actually spent an evening on ChatGPT working out the statistics of how many women have won a top award. So
that must be really depressing. We could do another episode on that.
Yeah. It is like in I think it's in 40 years, only 10 women have been nominated, but it's only 5 women. So 5 women account for 10 nominations.
Writing this down. I want this clip.
I have to give you the right statistics, but and funnily enough, that award is nominated. But if you go for an unnominated award, you've got a 67% chance of winning that as a female. Whereas if it's a nominated award, you've got like a 10% chance. So interesting.
I do. I kind of do lean into the misogyny, the systemic sexism, the glass escalator effect, which obviously I made that up, by the way. It's not a social phenomenon. I actually made that up according to Instagram trolls.
Somebody said to me the other day, because I was talking about, I actually said to them, like, statistically, women are disadvantaged by being caregivers, gender pay gaps, we don't talk about pensions enough. We're all gone self-employed. Hardly anyone's probably got a pension, contributes to pension gaps, gender gaps, caregiving gaps. And somebody said to me, who is quite vocal in the industry, said to me, well, we can all play the victim. And I was like...
You are gaslighting. That's what that is. That is fucking gaslighting. And I've got a whole thing coming up about gaslighting because, if you only look from your lens, that's it, isn't it? I appreciate you're looking from your lens, but if you can never look from another view, you're never going to see your own privilege, right?
I say to my husband sometimes, has anybody ever asked you where your kids are? while you've been out? And he's like, no, why would anyone ask me that? And I was like, and I'll say things to him like that people have said to me on TikTok. And I'm like, has anybody ever said to you, maybe you should give up work so that you can like look after your children? He's like, no, why would anybody say that to me? And I'm like, see, because people say that to me on TikTok
all the fucking time.
Why bother having children if you're just going to work? And I'm like, well,
I'm a firm believer that you actually can't win. It's like whatever it is, whether you're working, whether you're not working, whether you're breastfeeding, bottle feeding, terry nappies, disposable nappies, we're all just pit against each other. And the moment we realise how fucking powerful we are together, it's hopefully there'll be real change.
And I think that as well. Like, I don't think there's enough women like talking about stuff like when there was the whole like the budget last year. I was like, please, can we hear from some women? Like, why is it all the men like speaking up about this? I want to like the industry's all women. I want to hear. I want to hear from women. I want to go to trade shows and hear from women. I want to listen to women on business.
100%.
Because like it's a different perspective, and I sometimes feel like we're not giving people a platform enough.
Exactly. Humanizing that experience, making it real to the people actually living in it, that is exactly like what I want. Like it drives me mad. And you get called sexist in return, and you're like, I can't even go there.
I know, like,
God.
I mean, I like an argument, but sometimes it is like banging your head against a brick wall. But
you can't argue with stupid sometimes.
I do think that I have had a few men message me and say, like, I feel really sad that the men are not speaking up on this as well, because they have, like, you do get the odd person that I know, like, who'll say, like, this is a problem in our industry. But like, why is it if you speak up, you're being gaslighted by
people that aren't even in the industry? Like, we're talking like over 95% of these people, they're not hairdressers. Like, well, I go to the barbers. You're missing the point.
But like, but you should be like, everybody should be able to understand the disadvantages that we have.
Absolutely.
In the industry, even if it's not your shared experience.
But then it's lenses, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't feel like that's happening enough. Like, no one's saying, hang on a minute, how can we get these women to win these awards or whatever? It's just like, well, they haven't got talent or like whatever. Not like, well, maybe if we paid people to do trade shows, they'd be able to pay for childcare. Because I can't go and work for free up the other end of the country.
No, absolutely.
Unpaid. Anything that's been presented to me over the last couple of years as opportunity is unpaid.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
awards ceremonies, they're all very unachievable for women, they're not.
Like, they are. Like, if it's a photo shoot or like like the prestigious awards, because they want to be prestigious, are more unachievable for women, but no one's trying to make them more achievable for women. But if you look at the ones that are like written entries, there's a far higher entry for women. Like not like just standard awards, but that's obviously because the amount of effort that goes into
the actual application
awards, like the application, but also to go and create a photo shoot is a lot of money and investment.
Absolutely. I feel like we could be rageful about this for fucking ages, but I won't take up much more of your time. But I like to end on something funny, because it normally gets a little bit fucking angry. That's me, sauce babes. So tell me something funny that one of your kids has said or done. It doesn't have to be recent, but just to end on a high, something hilarious that your kids have done.
And I didn't remember this one, so now I'm going to have a think. But my kids are pretty funny all the time. My eldest, who's Sen, is like really literal. Is like, so that just gives me, like, he tells me I'm going to die before my husband, like those sorts of things. He says, yeah, but you're older, so you're going to die first. And I'm like,
sweetheart.
I'm like, yeah, I am.
Thanks, baby.
So I'm always laughing about things like that.
Out of the mouth of babe.
Thanks for the literalness. Oh, my little one's hilarious as well. We have just had autistic Barbie enter the house on Wednesday, which has been like a great conversation. I know she's been really controversial, but my 4-year-old thinks that she's, the best thing since sliced bread, that Barbie's wearing ear defenders.
Yeah, brilliant.
And by
More of
nine,
that.
by 9 o'clock on Thursday morning, she was pregnant. So she was pregnant and driving up and down the hallway in a convertible. I was like, well,
What a
she
fucking
feels
life.
lucky. Yeah,
I
she feels
mean, come
lucky.
on,
Yeah.
to be autistic Barbie right now.
Yeah. So that, I don't know, that's kind of what my house is like.
Love it.
It's pretty wild. Yeah.
Love it.
So yeah,
Brilliant.
she had some air clay shoved up her top and was driving around in a convertible. I was like, what's happened? She was, she's pregnant. I was like, okay, oh, right. She goes, she's pregnant with air clay. I was like, okay, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
My kids are pretty crazy, I would say.
Yeah, both of mine are as well.
Yeah.
Just let them be.
She comes home from school and I say, how was the pasta today? And she says, it had no flavour whatsoever.
My toddler eats 3 things and they're all beige, which tells you everything you need to know about my family. Would you like chicken nuggets, creamy pasta, or noodles? If I can spike you
The
with
same branded ones, yeah.
I can blag him on a few different sorts of noodles, but on the creamy pasta, I have to make it. Do you know what? He'll die of scurvy because he's not had a vegetable since, I don't know, 2021 when he was fucking breastfed. So,
Yeah. But like, yeah, fingers crossed they don't discontinue that pasta.
don't put it out there. Don't put it out there because he will just live on rocket lollies, which is probably fruit, right?
Yeah. No, it definitely is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, lovely. Thank you so much for your time.